You're now locked into Zone 32.
Grant Durflinger, Jake Miller.
Only on NeutralZoneInfractions.com.
NZI Properties.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another installment of the Zone 32 podcast, presented as always by NZI Properties. Follow us on Twitter at NZI Properties. Max, again, I'm surprised he's taking this long to regenerate because he's the reanimator. I don't care if you've been eaten by a bear or not, but he will be back. I tell you this, even if I have to necromance him to bring him back to life. But anyway, Grant's here with me. He ain't get eaten by no bear. He killed a bear with his two damn hands, just like old Davy Crockett. What's up,
Yeah,
Grant?
in my big toe. I fucked that thing up.
You damn straight. You know what it is. We back at it again. And we wish it was a happy occasion, but alas, it's not. Before we jump into that, we'll talk about the most recent current event with news regarding the Ravens. The Ravens announced they released Mark Ingram. They posted some touching tribute videos of him on the gram and on the Twitter and everything and on the site, and then Mark posted his. So it's a mutual tiding of good wishes for both parties. It's not a loss you really want for your team or your locker room, but it was kind of expected. But anyway, Grant, I'm going to holla at you. Give me your thoughts about Mark Ingram being a free agent.
Sucks, dude. I mean, you know, they always say football's a business. I mean, in a sense it is, but you still make those like emotional connections. It's like you might not ever meet the player. And I always, you know, joke around. I'm like, man, I get so pissed off about when the Ravens lose and stuff, but what are they ever going to do for me? But you know, it's like a camaraderie. It's like an unspoken bond like that you have. Some players you connect with more than others. And, you know, some of them are just, you know, just exceptional people. And Mark Ingram is 100%, you know, you can tell an exceptional person, you know, probably one of the better teammates that I've witnessed in Baltimore. And I mean, we've seen some players come through Baltimore, but as far as a teammate in general, I mean, the people just gravitate to the guy. I mean, we owe him everything from big trust. We owe him everything from the MVP chance for Lamar. I mean, he's Lamar's biggest cheerleader. And you know, as somebody that has been a veteran in the league, sometimes you get these guys and you see them all the time on radio shows, and they'll come into, you know, different interviews, and, you know, they're arrogant and like, they're like, yeah, I've been here before. Or they treat the rookies like oh yeah, carry my pads, bitch. Like that whole thing, like, you know, the whole kind of like hazing mentality. And, you know, they look at that and it's like, you know, he doesn't really give me, I'm sure he's, you know, hey man, carry my pads for me or so, you know, something silly. But at the same time, you know, I think that he's also the one that he's always gravitated to. I mean, I know Patrick Queen put out this week on Twitter and was like, hey, you were the first one to show me love. Like, bro, that's a running back. You ain't even in the same room. You know, you're not, you know, he's in the running back room. He's in the offensive meetings and all this. And you're the first round draft pick as a linebacker. And, you know, the first person that came to him was Mark Ingram. You know, and look at how he's handled the whole situation with this year. I mean, that speaks volumes on him alone. You know, the guy didn't say one negative thing. He did nothing but hype his boys up, you know, between JK, Gus, you know, obviously Justice was there for special teams reasons and certain packages on offense. But, you know, Mark Ingram put a lot into this team, and you could tell that it's definitely feels like a piece of Baltimore is going, even though, you know, he's been with us, 3 seasons. But you know, it still definitely feels like a piece of Baltimore is gone. But I mean, he was due pretty high amount of money. You know, the emergence of Gus, I think JK came along faster than they really, you know, kind of needed him to, because he was more of a luxury pick than anything. And the season that Mark Ingram had last year as a Pro Bowler, you know, 1,000-yard rusher. But I think that we're definitely going to miss him. Hopefully he continues his career on. I think he still got juice in the tank. I mean, I think this year was a lot. He was battling some injuries, but he still was trying and being out there for his guys. But man, just the way that he carried himself through this whole thing, like he was healthy scratches. You know, you're talking about a Pro Bowl guy last year. You know, like that dude didn't let any of that get to him, and he didn't break a smile. You know, he kept that smile on his face. You know, he kept, you know, cheering his guys on, coaching them up on the sidelines. Like, he's going to be a coach one day. If he wants to be, he's going to be a phenomenal coach this one day, because shit, I'd play for him in a second. I'd run through a wall for that dude. Like, he gets you so hyped up, like from the press conferences to everything. You know, Charm City's definitely going to miss him. And, you know, I do, man. And I know all of us here at NZI and you know, you, myself and Max here at Zone 32, we all love Mark Ingram, and we all do wish him the best with everything. But it sucks, man. But it is part of the business. I get that.
That's the truth, my guy. He was a consummate professional. He's one of those dudes like Steve Smith, Anquan Bolden. Once he comes to your team, you wish he had spent their entire career on your team. Because, I mean, damn, I do wish me some Steve Smith with a Baltimore Raven from the time he entered the league to the time he left the league. That's the man, the myth, the legend. But Mark, absolutely. He was a great teammate. He was a great player. Obviously, we mentioned that he's a Pro Bowler from a year ago, not this past year. Still, he was a baller. He was beloved in New Orleans. He had nothing but love and respect for Mickey Loomis and Tom Benson and the Benson family and everyone who worked with the Saints. He was extremely cordial and just happy and loved all those dudes as well. Same thing with Alvin Kamara. He helped mentor him and get him into the league. And I kind of did the same thing with J.K. Dobbins. Not saying Dobbins is Kamara or anything, a top 3 to 5 back in the league at least. But either way, like, he's one of those kind of dudes and personalities where it hurts the locker room, it hurts the camaraderie, it hurts losing that kind of man, that kind of personality in your locker room. It was like that when TJ was gone. It was like that when Eric Weddle left after they cut him and then cut TJ. It hurt the dynamic of the locker room from that perspective, because you never want to lose one of those kind of dudes. But hey, it is what it is. We wish him the best. I hope he extends his career and gets on with somebody else. That'd be great to see him still in the league, because the man's infectious. Look at the details. But that's the man. Anyway, enough delaying the inevitable. Let's get into it. Saturday night, the Ravens took a trip up to Orchard Park to play the Buffalo Bills. And unfortunately, they came away empty-handed. They lost. They got knocked out of the playoffs, and the offseason starts now. So, Grant, let's do it. Let's talk about the game.
It fucking sucked, dude. Kudos to the Bills. I'm rooting for the Bills through on out for the rest of the way, just because, man, they're such a classy organization. Their fans were awesome. We had our little banter all week long. That was a lot of fun. And, them kind of going on the whim to, do the donations to Lamar's, charities and stuff like that. I think that was incredible. And, not only that, but, I think that the Ravens kind of maybe gain respect from Bills Mafia in a sense of that, he went out there and fought. It was a tough fought game. He battled. He didn't get much help from his team, that's for sure, or his coaching staff. And he went out there and he fought. Yeah, he made a mistake on the interception. You could say what you wanted about it, but that was just a great defensive play. They saw something on film and they knew to drop to that zone in that situation, and they made a play. Well, do I wish he would have made a read? Yeah, sure. But you know what? He's a quarterback in the NFL. They're going to make mistakes. They're not going to throw 52, perfect passes or, execute 52 straight perfect plays. So, sometimes people just have unrealistic expectations and just look for a shitty situation to kind of attack Lamar. And I think it's weak and pathetic in a sense. But the dude went out there, fought and battled. And I think he gained a lot of respect from Bills Mafia from that. And I think that had a lot to do with it because of, you're sitting here, this dude is down. I talked about it before, he could have done everything. He could have given up, the ball snapped over his head for the how manyth time of the game. And on top of that, he's sitting here trying to fight back for a win, and his fucking center can't even snap the ball to him. And that's something that really irritates me. And then that play where the ball gets snapped over his head when he gets hurt on. How many quarterbacks in the NFL, like right now at the top of your head, I might know of 2 or 3 that would have fought for that football like he did out of 32. The rest of them in that situation, you're talking the next play after the pick six or 2 plays after the pick six in the fourth quarter. How many quarterbacks in the NFL are going to mentally give up? That's going to happen the next play, snapped over your head. How many quarterbacks are going to turn around and be like, oh shit, and act like they're going to go get it, but they're not going to move. And it's going to be a battle of fat guys rolling around the ground, kicking the football around until it's in the end zone for a touchdown. So, he went after the football and tried to make a play and got hurt trying to make a play. That's something, and he couldn't finish the game. He couldn't finish the fight, and that wasn't his choice. It was just something, league rules, safety rules. I'm sure he would have came back in if he got the opportunity to. But it sucked for us. One of the worst games that I think that we've played in a while, and that comes down to the execution point. There was just the offensive line was so bad, man. I was just talking the other day about the continuity of the offensive line, how much they're building together. I think we have our solidified offensive line through the playoffs, is what I think I said. Man, was I wrong. That interior offensive line was a complete and utter embarrassment. And you could say what you want. You could defend what they did. You could talk about the injuries. You can talk about anything else. But for an entire football game, I watched them get pushed 2 to 3 yards back every single time except for that first drive and the first drive of the second half. So I don't understand as a Greg Roman, what he does. Yeah, there's adjustments, but he got away from it again. He executed everything to perfection on that first drive after halftime, marched right down the field like it was nothing. Did it right before the half too. So he's making this progress, and then what's he do? He goes right back to the same fucking scheme that he had to start the game. The same one that got shut down after the first drive. So it's like, man, what are you doing? And then I don't understand where the adjustments aren't being made in the passing game. And we see all the GIFs and all the memes, and we see all the little clips of videos coming out getting reviewed by everybody and talking about the routes. Look at them. They are so pathetic. Like every single time you've got 2 to 3 receivers of the 4 in the same spot and they don't move. And then you blame Lamar for trying to force a throw or guess he's got to do something. He can't run every time. He can't throw it away every time. At some point, he's got to try to make a play. And it's just a fucking clown show. And it was awful. And, Bills played a great game. Like I said, I hope they win this weekend. I'm definitely rooting for them and Bills Mafia because, they've waited a long time, and it would be sweet to see them win now that the Ravens are out. But damn, we did not help ourselves. I feel like we talked about before the show. I feel like the Ravens are so cursed. Like they are that team that just they have those moments where they just don't put it together, and they're so talented and they have so much like continuity with each other, and then it just goes away. And I don't understand if it's coaching. I don't understand if it's just a lack of adjustments. I don't understand what it is, but it's got to get fixed because it's every fucking year. And it's just something that just needs to be done. And we can't keep going the offseason saying, man, we lost. That was our weak point. Let's fix that this year. No, find out what the problem is. Every year you can't just fix one position group. Last year it was the pass rush and the run defense. Then it was the corners the year before that. Now it's got to be the receivers. But every year it's been the receiver. And the thing is like you get what you get, but then you got these guys that you don't even give them time to develop. And you let people walk that maybe you shouldn't let walk. And like I'm not blaming the front office. I think EDC is the fucking man. I love him to death. But at some point we need to start looking in the mirror of the coaches. And John Harbaugh needs to stop having this, we'll fix it. We'll fix it. That's not the problem. Yes, John, that is the problem. The passing concepts and the route combos are the problem. When we utilize the pass game is the problem. How we set up the pass from the run is the problem. So it's like I'm sitting here as a not casual, because I know my shit, but you know what I mean? A fan sitting here on a couch. But I'm sitting here telling you this. So what do you think this guy that gets paid X amount of dollars is not doing? Like, I don't understand how it's that hard of an adjustment to make. Other teams do it. Why can't we?
That's the truth. And to your point about the interior of the offensive line getting whipped, that's effectively 3 years in a row. I mean, you can go back to even the Chargers game. They were lining up Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa inside to go beat up on good old James Hurst and Matt Skura. They couldn't handle him. They were whipping him. They were beating up on Lamar Jackson. Part of the 7 sacks they got on him that year where he looked horrible and the offense looked lost.
Those snaps from Akari on Saturday were worse than fucking Skura in Indy.
Or Skura against the Patriots too.
Yeah, that was a monsoon, so I give him a little bit of slack for that. But I mean, and like when you look at them, I mean, how many would there have been? I mean, they showed how many highlights of Lamar making like a one-handed snag down by his ankles, or coming up really quick to catch something up by his shoulders from a snap. Like, he was working.
That's the truth. To my point before, you went from getting beat up by Bosa and Melvin Ingram up front. I mean, Bosa also lined up against Orlando Brown. He arguably gave him his worst day as a rookie that particular year. Fast forward to 2019 and you get whipped up, beaten up by Jeffrey Simmons and Jarrell Casey, and they were dominating the trenches that year when the Titans beat us 20-12. Now you go to this year and you get Quentin Jefferson getting into the backfield, Jerry Hughes consistently coming unblocked, like the second and goal play where Marquise Hollywood Brown is running open on that little crosser, and because Tyree Phillips doesn't touch him, doesn't pick him up in his protection, and Dobbins whiffs on the block, Lamar's getting hit, and he doesn't have the ability to get the ball there while he's getting hit, so can't fault him for that. He barely had a second or two to get the play off or to get the pass off, but
they didn't even run the ball till like late in the second quarter. I feel like and we still had 7, 8 in the box, and Josh Allen was still rolling to his right. Like, they even said, like, the number one game plan, I think they even mentioned on TV, is don't let Josh Allen outside the pocket, especially to his right. What they do every like other play, I'm pretty sure that Josh Allen rolled out to his right and would throw a dart.
He was consistently getting outside, though. To the defense's credit, they only gave up 10 points on offense to that Bills. I misspoke. They only gave up 10 points on defense to that Bills offense, and Josh Allen didn't look like the MVP that people were touting him as in the regular season. Defense came to play. Marcus Peters, interestingly, he only gave up 4 catches on 9 targets. He had the lowest passer rating among the 3 starting corners. Jimmy Smith, unfortunately, that's a different story. The only real error on that defense that I can really recall was the Stephon Diggs touchdown, where I don't know why you don't call a timeout when you notice there's 2 DBs over there to cover 3 receivers. But I mean, I'm not a player, I'm not a coach or anything like that. But I mean, that's also one of those things, like, you might want to just adjust out of that as quick as you can. Or if you're Jimmy or if you're Marcus Peters, you're just like, all right.
Well, that, and how the fuck did we not get that fumble at the end of the second quarter on that strip sack from Judon and Yannick? I mean, with a perfect strip and everything, and we don't get it. And that's like, that's one of those kind of like break things. Football's balanced in mysterious ways. It wasn't our night, man. From start to finish, I said it from when after the first drive, when we like you could slowly start to see things kind of falling apart. I was like, this is going to be one of those nights, and it sure as hell was.
On a night where the most inconceivable of things, Justin Tucker gets beaten by Mother Nature. The winds cause him to miss 2 out of the 3 field goals he kicked that night. And honestly, he almost missed the 34-yarder at the end of the half. The wind was blowing out there, so
sure did.
That was absolutely a precursor of what was to come that night. Plus, the overthrow from Tyler Huntley to Marquise Brown, the wind obviously caught that, just like the overthrow from Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs in the first quarter, where he beat Marcus Peters by quite a bit, but it got overthrown because the wind took the ball.
Imagine if they connected on that whole game. That Tyler Huntley might have came back and won that game.
He very well could have.
How long? Because I think they ended up punting on that drive, didn't they?
No, they kicked a field goal and missed. Tyler Bass missed the field goal wide left. That much I remember.
So if he would have scored, then there would have still been more time on the clock and more timeouts with the 2-minute warning. And if the defense would have held them, we could have got the ball back with a chance to tie the game.
Absolutely. Same thing if Mark Andrews makes that incredible catch in the back of the end zone on 4th down, and it's 4th and goal to go. I mean,
I think that's not – when it's playoff time, I think Mark Andrews is sitting at home, and I think Snark Mandrews comes out to drop all the passes.
To your argument, I mean, he caught 4 of 11 targets for 28 yards. They also – Pro Football Reference also credited the pick towards him, which they should have. He was being covered by Tremaine Edmonds, and then Teron Johnson, undercuts the route and gets off for 101 yards with Trey White as his lead blocker. So, I mean, wasn't a good decision, and bad things have kind of happened with targeting Mark Andrews in the playoffs. In big games, he, for some reason, comes up much smaller than you expect him to at the beginning of the year. The homer in me was arguing that Mark Andrews was a top 3 tight end. Now, I'm not willing to go that far. Darren Waller is far and away the better player, the two. Either way, what can you do? It's another disappointing end to a new season. So now it's draft season. We'll be coming to you more with draft coverage and players to look at and potential free agent pairings and potential cuts in future episodes coming relatively soon. But anywho, on that note, let's kick into the other games. Let's talk about it. The Packers hosted the Rams at Lambeau Field, and they wound up beating the brakes off of them 32-18. So Grant, give me your thoughts on the Packers and the Rams game.
Shoo-wee. Your boy was wrong. Man, I guess, I don't know, we talked about the whole weather thing. I mean, I think sometimes it factors in, and I think it definitely factored in because I think the Packers are good, but I don't think that they're as good as the Rams made them look. But man, that was an ass whooping. Like, you got Aaron Rodgers smiling under center when he sees something like, that's an ultimate smack in the face, but he pulled it off. Devontae Adams is that man. He's solidified. You know, we kind of every week you can hear me kind of like leaning towards, you know, he's my one, but you know, DeAndre's still there and this and this. Nah, man, Devontae's number one. We just watched him go up against a straight lockdown man corner that he was barking at. And then he walks up to him pregame and tells him, "Don't run from me. Follow me everywhere I go." Like, okay. And he follows him everywhere he goes and cooks him, like straight up boils his ass up. And man, that's not an easy thing to do. I mean, you look at the numbers this year, I don't remember exactly what they were, but with the matchups that Jalen Ramsey had this year, he was a straight up lockdown against some big time playmakers. I mean, I know for a fact he shut down DK Metcalf twice. He might have only had like 2 catches in 2 games or something. But yeah, man, I mean, that was a hell of a matchup. The Packers can crush you in so many different ways. They have pass catchers outside of Devontae Adams, but they're also the guys that'll drop a wide open touchdown pass, as we saw a couple times in the past couple of weeks with them. You know, Aaron Jones is a freaking man. Like, you know, I just think that they're really tough, and they're going to be a really tough matchup this weekend for old Tommy Tom. But you know, I don't know where you go from as far as the Rams do. I think they need a quarterback. I think they need a quarterback. You know, they need to keep the defense intact, you know, solidify some pieces there. They looked bad. They didn't really execute well. I mean, Aaron Donald can only do so much by himself on the defensive side of the ball. But, you know, offensively, they just looked completely inept. And, you know, you've got stud receivers. I mean, Cooper Kupp was out, but I mean, Robert Woods is a beast. You know, Josh Reynolds is more than formidable. Van Jefferson is a young receiver that I love and think is going to be a huge playmaker. You know, you got the tight ends, Everett and Higbee, and you got the running backs. Like, I mean, they got playmakers, they got talent. You know, they have one of the best offensive minds coaching them in football. I mean, both, you know, I always talk about Shanahan, but I mean, McVay's there too. And they just, you know, they got to put it together. And I feel like essentially sometimes, not with like, you know, the roster build-up examples, but how they just can't close out when they need to close out almost makes me feel a lot like Baltimore. And, you know, they have these, you know, star-studded rosters, you know, they're deep, great coaching staff, you know, should wins, could wins, and they don't win. So, you know, but I think it was a great on the Packers standpoint, because they gained even more confidence going into next week. And I think they're riding high. And I mean, we'll talk more on Thursday about picks and stuff, but they're going to be really tough to stop.
Without a doubt, they will be. Yeah, to your point, Jalen Ramsey against DK Metcalf, yeah, he did shut him down for 2 games. The third, I believe, after that long bomb that Metcalf caught on the broken play, Ramsey held him to like 3 catches for 37 yards. So he effectively, DK did basically nothing against Jalen. Now this week was a different story. Devontae killed him. He caught 9 of 10. He went 9 of 10 passes for 66 yards and a tutter. I mean, the one tutter was just was him going in motion and getting that little speed and getting open in the flat real quick. Which again was a busted coverage on the Rams of not something like that. But you know, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, Devontae Adams has been cooking DBs for the past couple of seasons. So I mean, yeah, it might be time to crown a new king of the NFL receivers. Move over D-Hop, move over or fake sideshow Bob, looking at Michael Thomas. But I mean, Devontae Adams is the man. He's loving this. He's getting all the love from Aaron Rodgers. But yes, Packers, they played their asses off. If I'm not mistaken, let's take a look. Actually, Zadarius Smith came away with a sack. Rashawn Gary came away with a sack and a half. So I was almost right on my Smith brothers prediction. But Zadarius is getting back there, the one that got away. But I mean, yeah, they got after Goff. To your point about the Rams needing a new quarterback, I remember there were some reports being said on the Twitter sphere and the NFL news that maybe the Rams and Jared Goff and Sean McVay, they're not seeing eye to eye anymore. So, you know, maybe they could be in the market for a new quarterback. And personally, I'd love to see someone like Matt Ryan over there. I mean, Sean McVay came from the Mike Shanahan offense. He coached under Kyle and Mike in Washington with RG3 and Kirk Cousins over there. So, I mean, it wouldn't be that much of a stretch to put Matt Ryan over there. They run a similar scheme, and Matt Ryan is an MVP coach when he was playing under Kyle Shanahan. So, I mean, you never know. I'd give him a better shot to compete in the NFC West with him than with Jared Goff.
Let Matt Stafford go out there and sling the rock a little bit in McVay's offense.
Even better, I kind of want to see him in Indy, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah.
We'll talk about free agents at a later date.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the truth. But yeah, so the Packers go on to win 32-18. They get to host the NFC Championship game, and they get to host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who on Sunday afternoon went out and for the third game literally went with the result of the Quinn Rampage Vanderlei Silva fight in the UFC. After getting knocked out by the Saints 2 games in a row, Bucks came out and punched them in the mouth and came out with the dub and ate themselves a dub in front of Jameis, 30-20. So Grant, how bad is Drew Brees?
I feel bad for him, man. I love that guy. I think that he's had a wonderful career. I think he's got to hang it up, man. He's fighting through a bunch of stuff. I think his wife came out and said that he should have needed shoulder surgery and ankle surgery or something like that today. But I mean, he's done. He's done. They got their backup tight end, quarterback, kicker, punter, butter boy, mascot, whatever the hell you want to call him. Taysom Hill is due $15 million next year. So I mean, you got Jameis on the roster. Jameis came in with a little trick play, throwing a dime piece. But no, I mean it wasn't the only problem they had, but he wasn't helping them more than what they needed to. Michael Thomas can't guard Mike, more like can't get open. He had 0 catches. I mean, I forgot who was guarding him, and he put on Instagram the other day, and he was like, called him Mr. Slant or something. I was like, dude, that's so clutch. Like that's troll level, like 1,000. But no, I mean, it was Buccaneers pretty much controlled that game. Playoff Lenny is out here rolling. It's catching a lot of steam. It's funny. He's riding with it. He tweeted something about, playoff Lenny with a bunch of exclamation points. Leonard Fournette has got that, that's a little juice. It's funny and we laugh about it, like a little silly, like kind of nickname like that. But, that's something that'll give somebody some juice, and one big pop play and you get people chanting, playoff Lenny. The next thing you know, that dude's juiced. The team's juiced a little bit, like little silly things like that can really, give some teams some confidence. I think that they controlled the game. They did what they wanted to do. Saints have a lot of kind of soul searching to do in the offseason because they have a really talented roster. We all know they're well coached, but they're going to need to do some major changes. And, there's some things that need to be solidified on that. And what sucks is they just, with the cap kind of probably not moving, if not, I don't think it goes down, but I don't see it moving much at all. But, you just paid a wide receiver $100 million that ain't worth shit. Well, I don't want to say not worth shit, but he got paid and he bailed out. You can call it injuries, you can call it what you want, but his work ethic went down the drain afterwards, and he started running his mouth, being whiny after that. You really saw his true colors kind of come out. He fooled me. It's like he fooled a lot of people. But, all in all, I just, Buccaneers are going to the Packers. We'll talk about that on Thursday, but man, it's not going to be easy to head up to the frozen tundra.
Not at all, especially for a warm weather team coming from normally sunny and hurricane-filled Florida, going up to the frigid frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. But to your point about the Saints, they absolutely have a lot of soul searching to do. They're projected to be over $100 million over the cap. So I'm just wondering, how the hell are you going to field a team? You have to cut the roster pretty much. I mean, damn.
It's only going to be Taysom Hill and Michael Thomas on the roster. That's it.
Maybe not. That might even just wind up being Taysom Hill and like Traquan Smith or something. And just Sean Payton goes out, gets paid in food stamps, is like, Taysom, run the quarterback draw again. They'll never see it coming. You got it, son. You got it.
He'll be like, we're all right. I got slimed.
That's right. They were the slime game last week. And also, to your point, with that one tutter that Jameis Winston threw, that was the same play the Bears ran. And then freaking, what's his face? Wims. Javon Wims from the Bears just lets it go straight through the breadbasket. That's one of those.
Javon whiffs.
To quote the late, actually, no, he's probably not dead yet, but the great Vern Lundquist on that radio call with the Cowboys, when Jackie Smith drops that touchdown against the Steelers, he's got to be the sickest man in America. I mean, how do you drop that? Oh. I'm just saying. I'm not even a fan of the Bears, but when you see something like that, you just go, oh!
And the worst fucking part was it happened so early in the game, but it was still such a soul-crushing like drop that I think it really did kind of fuck with them, like, the rest of that game.
Fuck yeah, it did. You know what it is? You know what they did? They stopped trying to sling it. They stopped trying to get cute, and they're like, "Fuck, we're just gonna be us." And the Saints saw it coming, and they stopped the run, and they want to beat the brakes off them, only to come back a week later and get the brakes beaten off of them by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But yeah, not all that surprising that Drew Brees needs surgery on his ankle and his shoulder. He's 42 years old. Peyton Manning was a skeleton of himself at the end of his career, and people are like, "Oh, his knee's bad. His leg is bad. His foot's bad. He can't step into his throw." It's like, well, yeah, he's old. What are we talking about here? Of course he's old, and he knew he was going to peter out at some point because he's geriatric. No disrespect to the man. Future Hall of Famer. Drew Brees as well. You know what they are. I mean, shoot. He's got, if I'm not mistaken, the most passing yards ever. Or like he and Brady are like 1 and 2 for touchdowns and completions and all that good stuff. So he's a future first ballot Hall of Famer. Man was elite. And Sean Payton brought that out on him before being like a close to a bust in San Diego at the time. So, kudos to Drew Brees on an excellent career. He absolutely should retire if he hasn't announced already. Just like the guy who replaced him in San Diego, Phillip Rivers, who announced that he's retiring this week. Neither one of them have arms. I mean, neither one of them have zipper velocity on the ball. Brees couldn't throw the ball over 20 yards. I used to knock Tom Brady for not being able to do that, but with Brees, it's even worse. At least Brady has a little bit of zip on the ball. And to bring up Tom Brady, Saints defense played him pretty well. Like, he wasn't getting a whole lot against that defense for at least a while. And then, of course, Drew Brees throws the 3 picks. Then Jared Cook fumbles the ball. It's hard to overcome turnovers. It is hard to overcome turnovers in the NFL. When you lose the turnover battle, you typically lose the game. But yes, next Sunday night, it'll be Bucks Packers in the NFC Championship game on Fox at 6:40 p.m. Eastern, 3:40 Pacific Standard Time. But before we preview all those, I'll be for the next episode. Let's get into the last one and find out who is hosting the AFC Championship game, because the Cleveland Browns went into Kansas City to take on the champs and the Kansas City Chiefs. After going up to a 19-3 lead, Mahomes gets concussed by Mac Wilson. He leaves the game, and all of a sudden, the Browns start mounting a comeback, only to fall short against Chad Henne and the Kansas City Chiefs, losing 22-17. So, Grant, how about them Brownies?
Got robbed. They got absolutely robbed. Browns should have won that game. And, don't even get me started on that stupid-ass fucking rule when you own a team and march all the way down the field and they benefit from some stupid-ass bounce on a football. Like, that's crazy. Anytime else on the field, it bounces out, you get the ball at that, where you fumbled out of that spot, depending on the situation and the time of the game. But, like, you got that one chance, then you get somebody down, you got your back against the wall, and they fumble, and it so happens you got out of the end zone, and then it's like a turnover. It's like an interception or a fumble. Like, even better, because you get the ball in the 20, and if you recover a fumble in the 2, you got to start at the 2. Or if you get an interception at the 2 and you get tackled at the 5, you get the ball at the 5. So, like, it's even better than getting an interception or a fumble in the red zone, unless you're, of course, the Bills and just take it all the way back to the house. And, we were talking about that. But, like, the Browns were doing what they had to do. I mean, God, the Chiefs are just such rats. Like, I swear they sold their soul to the devil. Like, something like Andy Reid sold his soul to the devil or something. Like, they catch the breaks. Like, Mahomes goes out for the game, and a guy that hasn't seen a football field since God knows how long comes in, and it's third and 17 when he had that run, 3rd and 15 when he scrambled and gets the first down, like, to seal it. Like, Chad Henne came in and pretty much ran down the field on the Browns defense. I get that you've already game planned for one guy, but it's the playoffs. Make your adjustments. He's not that great. He's not that athletic. It's Chad fucking Henne. Like, but, the Browns just weren't getting breaks, man. But that, not only does it fumble out of bounds, but then they don't even call a helmet to helmet that clearly happened on the same play. That is the definition of targeting. And, it's like this pick and choosing bullshit's really getting annoying, especially when you seem to see the same teams that benefit from these calls week in and week out, no matter who they play. But I think the Chiefs have just been limping towards the end. They're not. Last year they were blowing people out. Beginning of the season they were blowing people out. After that Raiders game, they weren't much of the same. I mean, they beat Baltimore, but I mean, that little stretch there was weird. But they're not invincible, and they could have easily lost their last 3-4 games. So it's going to be a good matchup. I'm really rooting for the Bills this weekend. But the Brownies, they had a chance and they had opportunities, but they were basically playing against the NFL and the Chiefs. So you're going to deal with that every time as well. But you still got to execute. You still got to keep them out of the end zone. You still got to score points, and they didn't do enough.
You're not wrong about that, though. To your point, technically targeting is not a penalty in the NFL. It is in college, though. But I understand what you mean, because lowering the head to initiate contact is a penalty, and that was clearly what Daniel Sorensen did. That being said, it was halftime. Yes, that's a 10-point swing. That being said, you knocked out Patrick Mahomes for the game. How do you lose to Chad Henne? He didn't score on you as soon as he failed. And you got up and went on a 14-point swing. You catch a pick from him, and you can't stop him? He's a journeyman, for God's sakes. It's like, I get it. Andy Reid is a genius. And you have to credit him, not just for the scramble, but for that 4th and a half a yard, the speed out to Tyreek Hill, which is a play they always run. I don't know why, if you're a DB, you're going to play that far off or not double him. At least do what the freaking Saints did to Calvin Johnson back in 2011. Put gunner coverage on him. Don't let him get off the line. Same thing with Travis Kelce. If Hardman beats you, okay. If Sammy Watkins beats you, okay. You got to live with it. But I mean, damn. Either way, you got to give credit. You got to give credit to the champs. They've resolved and they found ways to win even the most adverse circumstances. And I was texting with someone that day. As soon as I saw Mahomes go out the game, I was like, nah, they're losing this game. The Chiefs are losing this game. And lo and behold, I was wrong. The Kansas City Chiefs won that game. They get to host the Buffalo Bills. And for a quick point of order, because I know people are worried about Patrick Mahomes possibly not playing this week. As of now, he was a full participant in practice. He's still in the concussion protocol, but they're saying he doesn't have any symptoms of a concussion, so he might just come off that pretty soon and play Sunday afternoon.
I'm not going to let him not play. Are you kidding me? They're not going to move the game.
Oh, hell no. He's the golden ticket. He's the new Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Can't let that curly-headed fuck not play. What, are you kidding me? It is what it is. And yes, I call him a curly-headed fuck just like his Step Brothers. Get over it. But yes, got to give them credit, though. They got the win. I'm actually surprised the Browns didn't run the balls effectively. Could have against that team. But, I mean, hey.
Yeah, dude. I said Chubb was going to run for 200.
I don't know if I was talking to y'all on the pod or if it was in somebody else, but I said if they could combine for 300 yards rushing, it's a lot, but if they could do it, they have a chance. But instead, no. And they fell down. I mean, part of that was to game script. They fell behind 13-3 real early. They couldn't stop Mahomes and the Chiefs right off the bat. But eventually they started holding on to field goals. From that point on, you might as well run it. I mean, there's nothing else they could do. You just pound them, beat them into oblivion, because that's the way to beat Kansas City. You pound them in the middle, you pound them in between the tackles, and you don't let Pat Mahomes on the field. Even though they can score quickly, that's your best bet. Wearing down. But nonetheless, the Browns lost. They're in the offseason now, and we get Bills at Chiefs for the AFC Championship game on CBS at 3:40 Eastern Standard Time. Well, not 3:40, 3:05 Eastern Standard Time, 12:05 Pacific. But anyway, that's going to do it for this week's installment of the Zone 32 podcast. We'll be back to give you in-depth reviews of the NFC Championship game and the AFC Championship game. Until that point, this is Jake and this is Grant signing off for the night.
Oh! See ya!
Grant, Jake.
Zone 32, only on NeutralZoneInfraction.com.
NZI Properties.